Hello, Wendy. I'm excited to have you on Power Women Wellness. How are you?
I'm fabulous. How are you? I love being here and I
Good.
love the name of your podcast.
Yes, I know. It's like a little swapadoo because I
Oh,
was on your podcast, which I actually will put in the my show notes as well. So I'm gonna actually write that down. But I'm excited that you're on, so I can pick your brain now, and you can share with us like your like healthy lifestyle and routine, and just what you do to take care of yourself. But before we get there, tell us like who you are, what do you do, what kind of led you
ooh,
on this career path that you're on.
that's a loaded
Hmm.
question. Yes, thank you so much for having me here. I think this is the first health podcast I've been on. Which
What?
I know, right?
That's kind
Interesting.
of crazy.
But
Yeah.
yeah, Wendy Valentine, podcast host of the Midlife Makeover Show. I'm a writer, soon to be author of a book that will be coming out in spring of 2025. And I'm a midlife cheerleader. I love inspiring women to become their greatest selves, help them live to their full potential. And yeah, mother of three boys, 21, 26, 31. And let's see, about 2 years ago, I totally made over my midlife. I got out of debt and I bought an RV and I took off across the country. So
Oh my
it's been quite,
gosh.
yeah. So I'm actually recording in the RV right now as we speak.
I love that. Oh my gosh, I love that. And so actually what like made you like just buy an RV and get going?
So yeah, backing up a little bit, my breakdown to breakthrough story. I hit 45 years old and I was going through a divorce. My brother just passed away. My dog died. I sound like an old country song. Uh, yeah, I was going through Lyme disease, black mold toxicity. I was depressed. I had anxiety attacks, you name it. I was absolutely totally miserable. And I was unemployed. And like I mentioned before, I was in a ton of debt. So I knew I needed to change my life. And I decided that in order to change my life, I needed to change me. So it started out with basically changing my thoughts, my beliefs, my behaviors, my limiting beliefs. I didn't realize how much I had that had piled up after 45 years. So, yeah, long story short, I ended up moving from Virginia, took a job in Chicago, and worked my booty off for 2 years to get out of debt, save up some money. And I had always had this dream of driving an RV across the country. And the one thing that was different this time around in this dream that I've had before is that instead of envisioning the RV and all the cool places I would see, I envisioned a new woman behind the wheel, a woman that actually loved herself, took care of herself, that was grateful for just being alive. And that right there is what got me to where I'm at right now.
I love that. I love that. I love what you said. Break down to break through. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it seems like it was a
Yeah.
crazy time of your life, but I mean, I really think that the best version of you always comes after like such a struggle and such a storm. And I feel like now you're like living your best life. And you're like, heck yeah, I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you know what? It brings me back to the story of like the butterfly coming
Mhm.
out of a cocoon, right? And I don't know if you know this, but if you were to actually cut the top of a cocoon off and take the butterfly out, the butterfly would be deformed and it would die. So if you ever see a butterfly like kind of like stumbling around, it's like, damn, someone must he came out of the cocoon too soon. So the butterfly actually has to struggle to come out of the cocoon. It has to like like pump massive amounts of blood through its veins, and it has to push and struggle to get out of the cocoon in order for it to fly and be free.
Oh
So
my gosh.
if you're going through anything in your life right now, as difficult as it is, embrace it. Just know that the struggle is there's meaning behind it, there's purpose behind it. And just know
Mm.
that on the other side of the struggle is your freedom.
Oh, I love that. And I will say that like so encouraging too that you didn't let midlife or age or it's too late or whatever to hold you back. I will say, I see that a lot of like, oh, is it too late for me? I'm almost 50. And I'm like, no, you're still so young. And I love that like that didn't hold you back.
Yeah, life, I know we hear this all the time. Life is so short.
Hmm.
It really is. I think even if you live to 100, that's just a blink of time and eternity, right? And my ex-husband died at the age of 26, and my brother died at the age of 49. So I always think about them like my ex, obviously, he didn't even have an opportunity to get to midlife. My brother was just kind of getting cranking, right?
Oh my
And
gosh.
so we don't know, like, I feel like myself included, we all take our lives for granted and like, oh, I'm gonna have so much time. I'll do that
100%.
here. Or maybe I'll finally get that dream job, or I'll buy that house I always wanted, or take that trip to Italy. Like, I'll have time later. No, like you don't know, right?
Yes.
I always just
Yes.
leap, go for it. And one of the things that RV life has taught me is to be very adaptable. You just,
Mm,
I didn't know how to live an RV life. I don't even know what that meant. I mean, there's the one thing of driving an RV, but then maintaining an RV, having different neighbors all the time and different sceneries, and like everything is a new experience every single day.
wow.
But it's about adapting and trusting that you figure the shit out as you go along. That's
Yeah.
the beauty of it. Like it sounds so silly, but like the tiniest of wins will be like the coolest thing. Like, oh my God, I can't believe I fixed the sink today on my own. Or I actually, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Just
Yes.
the tiniest bits of win will actually, and it helps you to build more courage. I always say, like, I
Yeah.
can hand you a jar of courage and like, here's your courage. There you go. Now you can go. Like, you build
Yeah.
courage as you leap more into your life. That's what I think.
Mm. Oh, I love that. And I know you mentioned too, you had some like health stuff, so like mold and Lyme exposure. And was that like kind of your entrance into the wellness field, or were you kind of more on the healthier version even before those two things?
I was, yeah, I wouldn't say I was a health nut per se, but I was pretty healthy already. So it also goes to
Okay.
show that sometimes things can happen to you, right? You
Yeah.
can get illnesses, and whether you like it or not. I feel like if your body is, on a basic level of being healthy, then it's easier to fight off some of those
Yeah.
things. But it can happen. And yeah, I kind of mentioned to you earlier, like I came up with these ABCs of how to be healthy in your 50s or pretty much any age. I don't think it
Yeah.
really matters. I really don't. I mean, yes, there are things that happen in different ages and stages in life, like obviously perimenopause and menopause and
Right.
all that fun stuff that can throw some curveballs your way. But it really goes back to the basics. It goes back to eating whole foods, like hanging out in aisle one at the grocery store. Like it's really like that's like I always tell people, like I used to run several medical practices, and I would tell the patients, I'm like, it's really simple. I want you to go to the largest aisle in the grocery store and hang out there, and then you can go to the cash register. Like ignore the other aisles for the most part, right? But
Yeah.
it's just going back to the basics. It's
Yeah.
your fruits, it's your veggies. If you want to eat meat, eat meat. Just try to
Yeah.
eat the healthiest meat that you possibly can. Eat your fish, eat your chicken, keep it basic. Like the
Yeah.
stuff in the box, I'm not going to say I don't have anything in my tiny little pantry up here inside boxes, but if it's in a box, it's at least like the healthiest it could possibly be, right? Like it's rice
Right.
or pasta or something like that, right? But don't overthink it. I feel I interview a lot of people on my show that are in the health industry and having owned several medical practices and functional medicine. I've seen it all. Like, and
Yeah.
there's tons of different diets and exercise and methods and do this and do that. And it's like, oh my gosh, it is so
Yeah.
overwhelming and stressful. And I find that like if you buy into all these different things and like the complicated ones, the stress
Yeah.
trying to follow along with that can actually cause more damage to
Yeah.
you than just taking a deep breath and going, maybe I should just go back to the basics and just
Yeah.
eat how a human being is supposed to eat.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And
Yeah.
now being in an RV, yeah, what is that hard? I know like you have everything that you need,
Yeah.
but I'm sure it was an adjustment from having like a full-blown kitchen with like every gadget possible to an RV, smaller storage. So has that changed for you? Has it gotten better?
Oh,
Just more
okay,
creative?
great. Yeah, great question. I would say, if anything, it's better for me because
Mm,
I don't know if you can, well, I don't know if you show this on YouTube, but that's
I
my,
do.
okay, good. Yeah, that's my little refrigerator back there, which is still a pretty good size, right?
Yeah.
So, and because I travel a lot, I try not to like stuff it with a whole bunch of things. I buy a few things. I call it the European approach because like in Europe, you have like little apartments and little refrigerators and most
Hmm.
walking through the city and they buy stuff, they go home. So I'm just keep the minimum in there, right? But actually, as a matter of fact, like where I'm at right now in Malibu, I'm having the
The
purple carrot.
best.
I know, right? It's so nice
The
here.
best.
I know I have views
Yeah.
of the ocean right now. But
Then you know
purple.
the Malibu Pier, like that restaurant that I forgot which one that's called. Oh my God, so good.
Oh, you mean Nobu? The Nobu?
No, no. It's like right, it's at the end of the pier.
Yes, yes. I can't think. Malibu Farm, maybe I think.
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah,
something like that. So
yeah,
good.
yeah. But I'm even having purple carrot getting delivered here today. It's one of those meal kits. It's all vegan. But when I was, a solo RVer for the first year, and I would purposely try to find a good grocery store. I'd buy my stuff, I'd go park, set up, and I loved grilling outside and just keeping it. I follow the KISS principle, like keep it simple, silly, right? Just
Yeah.
the food simple. And it also has taught me to be more mindful of when I eat and how I eat and just taking my time. Like it's here, like you want to enjoy the scenery, or like if I was at
Yeah.
Yosemite or Glacier National Park or whatever, just to sit outside and take my time eating, enjoying what's around me. Like very rarely do we like sit and
Yes.
just be mindful of what we're eating and how we're eating it and not scarf
Yes.
our food at our desk,
I
which
know.
I was guilty
It's definitely a big problem too. And I feel like
of.
people have led to make mealtime work in their schedule. Like their schedule comes first. And if mealtime fits, it fits. And I'm like, how wrong did we go when it's the opposite? Like
Yeah.
mealtime is sacred and a time for nourishing our bodies, and everything else can wait. So that's why I'm like, put it in your calendar. If you're busy, like I get it, but put it in your calendar. Like you cannot talk to me from 12 to 1 because I'm going to be eating lunch and getting out of the
Yeah.
office and going for a walk, or just like
Yeah,
getting out there. And
like think about that though. Like our bodies are a vehicle, right? That carries our soul through life. Like, why wouldn't we nourish it?
I know.
Why
I know.
wouldn't we? Like, if you're going, I mean, I think sometimes we pay more attention to the gas we're putting in our damn cars. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Instead of
totally.
our bodies, like food. I know it's been said before, but food is fuel, but it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, okay, we'll start with the A of the ABCs. A is awareness, right? I'm like, we're getting to these ABCs of being
Love
healthy.
it.
But A is awareness. Like be aware of what you're putting into your body. And I would say more importantly, what you're putting into your mind. What are you feeding your mind? Your thoughts, your
Yeah.
feelings, your beliefs, like I talked about before. That was the most important thing I did for myself to change my life was to actually pay attention to how I speak to myself.
Mm,
I feel like a lot of this comes down to like if you truly, truly, deep down, honest to goodness, love yourself, not in the corny, fluffy way, I love myself, but truly like accept and honor
yes.
yourself, how much easier is it to just live a life with ease? Like you're
Yeah.
taking so much pressure off of yourself to be perfect or to fit into this little bikini or you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
or what the number says on the scale or what how these pants look. Who cares? Like
Yeah.
you really love who you are and you appreciate who you are and you're grateful for yourself and your presence here in this short time in life. Everything else is just like, oh, you can actually breathe. You can just
Yeah.
like
100%. And like when this podcast, even like Power Women Wellness, it's not just like nutrition. It is like the mental health aspect because health is very, it's everything. It's not just food. And yes, you mentioned having limiting beliefs. What were some of your favorite like resources or things that you did that just come to top of mind that you're like, that changed and helped change my limiting beliefs? Book or podcast or just an
So,
exercise that you did every day or what helped the
yeah,
most?
great question. So it's interesting. My whole life, probably since I was a teenager, I was a total like junkie when it came to personal development stuff, retreats, books, audiobooks, podcasts, like workshops, you name it, I was signing up for it, right? And even getting certified in it. But a lot of it, I was doing it for myself, of course, but in also like, okay, I want to be able to teach this someday. So I'm going to
Yeah.
learn this. And then it hit me when I had my breakthrough moment there. And I remember going to this Barnes and Noble
Oh,
in
right.
Williamsburg, Virginia. I know. And it was like a cold
Mm.
day, and I went and got a latte up there. And I was like, I'm going to go get me a new book
Mm.
that's going to solve all my problems. I'm like, and so I go to my section, the personal development self-help section, and I'm looking at the shelves. I'm like, I'd read them all. I was like, yep,
Wow.
Wayne Dyer and Deepak, Gabby Bernstein. Yep, 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 yep,
Yep.
yep. I was like, shit. And then I realized that I was the answer, that
Yeah.
I needed to stop looking outside of myself for even if it's good stuff, right? And
Yeah.
so it came down to trusting Wendy and that I had everything within me to be able to do and be, most importantly, be that powerful woman sitting behind the RV someday. Like
Yeah.
I had everything that I needed. I think sometimes we all do this. And it's, I mean, it's tempting even with social media. Like we look at it, we scroll and we're like, that's a good reel. That's gonna solve my problem. How much is that course? $19. And yes, it can be a catalyst. Like all of those things for me,
Yes.
catalyst. And it's not, I mean, I sell online courses, I sell books, right? But the key is pointing, looking in the mirror, going back to yourself and
Yeah.
knowing you have the power to change anything you want about yourself. And
Yeah.
it's and trusting that you'll be able to do it and having patience. It takes time.
Yes. Yes. I know because you're right. There are so many books and podcasts and resources, and they're amazing. They can make us think and they can be so
Yes,
helpful. But there are some people that they are just reading and listening, but they're forgetting the like self-reflection side of it. Like they're
yes,
just trying to blast through how many books, how many podcast episodes, whatever it is, and think that's going to solve when it still
right.
takes a lot of like inner work and reflection. So did you have a certain practice like journaling or something that really helped you
Yeah.
through that?
Yep. Journaling was probably my number one.
Mhm.
I don't journal as much as I used to. I feel like I've gotten it all out, if you will.
Yeah,
But my practice was I'd get up in the morning and make a cup of coffee because that's very, very important.
of course.
that, that,
Must.
that is my fuel. And without speaking to anyone or anything, I would sit down with my journal and a pen and I would start writing. And I would always do at least one page. Now, I know
Mm.
a lot of people out there, I was actually going to post a reel about this on Instagram, but some people do not journal because they do have, I mean, why do we journal? We want to get like the deepest and sometimes
Yeah.
dark, scary thoughts out of our system, right? And process
Yeah.
better out than in, I always say, or is what
Yeah.
Austin Powers would say. So here's a little trick. If you when you're journaling, you're right, you've got your page, right? You fill out the whole page, flip it upside down, and like I do it in cursive, right? So and then you flip it upside down and then you write on top of what you just wrote. You cannot, oh, I don't have my journal right now. I could have shown you, but it looks like a bunch of doodles. But then it gives you a little bit more relief because no one can read what you just wrote.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. So you're talking about like people not really journaling because they're nervous of
Yeah.
like, so yeah,
Yeah.
someone picking it up. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. I use an app
That's
called,
a
I think
little
it's,
trick for you.
I love that. I use a little app called Stoic. I think it's STOIC. I see. And there's other things more than journaling, but I use there, and it obviously requires a password to get into it and stuff like that. But
Yeah,
yeah,
but
I think
journaling is such a great way to get to move those emotions away
mm,
out of you. Like I think of emotion as energy in motion,
yep.
emotion, right? Emotions are meant to flow. Like
Yeah.
you don't want that to get stuck within you. You let it flow through you, put it on the paper, let your heart pour into the page, and then close it up and boop, goes
Yeah.
back to the shelf.
Yeah. I know.
Let
I used to be like, that's way too simple, way too
that
easy. That's not
be.
going to work. And then like I did it twice and I'm like, this is life changing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know what too? And for me also, I was determined. I mean, I was so miserable in my life that I wanted to change desperately, and I
Yeah.
wanted to make just a complete 180. And so I did do therapy. I did EMDR to overcome some of the
Amazing.
trauma that I went through. I even did ketamine. I did a couple rounds
Mm.
of ketamine. I know that was actually
Was that pretty crazy?
it wasn't too bad.
Nice.
I wish they recorded it because it would have been a great stand-up comedy act. But I was like, dang it, I knew I was being funny. But I did it actually when it was the first stop I did in my RV when I took off in the RV. And it was a gift to myself. I was like, you know what? I had watched the documentary Fantastic Fungi,
Okay.
and where I learned about ketamine and what it can actually do for you. And so I was like, you know what the heck? I kind of felt like there was, even though I had done so much therapy and I'd read all the books and I did so much self-reflection, I felt like I was pretty good, but I still felt there was something there that just needed to get unstuck. So
Mm.
I did a retreat that was at 10,000 Waves in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and they were doing this whole ketamine journey. And I was like, and I felt very, very safe because I had a guide, I had a psychologist there, and it was the final thing that I needed. And
Wow.
and I would say the greatest belief that came out of that, or the greatest change, was knowing that I was the one standing in my own way.
Mm.
It wasn't anybody else or anything, or it wasn't money, or it wasn't any limiting. It was just I needed to get out of my own way.
Yeah. Wow.
And I feel like we all stand in our own way.
Yes.
We'd
100%.
like to blame others. We would like to blame our jobs and the busyness, but it's really
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
So
I fully
really,
believe
yeah,
that.
I mean, we're the ones that like hold ourselves back, right? It's crazy if you
Yeah.
think about it.
But I totally, when I feel that way and I am acknowledging like I am, and it could be a fear, it could be something, I think back to what you said in the beginning of the episode. I think back to how short life is. And
Yeah.
like, if something happened to me and I was on my deathbed tomorrow, would I regret like just not going full force in something, to reaching out to someone that I felt like, oh, no way. Like, why am I reaching out to them? Who am I to reach out to them? Right. And that comes down to like self-worth, which is also another thing. I'm like, reading Jamie Carnlima,
Oh,
her new
yes.
book, Worthy. I
Mhm.
loved her first book. It was great. And I was like, when I first got it, I'm like, I feel worthy. Like, that's not an issue, but let me, I absolutely love her work. So I want to read and listen to it. And then I was like, no, actually, I see this popping up in my life of reaching out to certain people who may be at a higher level in business or whatever. Like, yes, we can even get nitty-gritty, like a bigger social following, like whatever. And yeah, there's totally a hint of me that says, who am I to like reach out to them? Right. And then she mentions a lot. She's doing a lot of podcasts right now. And she mentions like Oprah, and like Oprah giving her number when they met. And she's like, I'm not going to
Yes.
reach out to her and whatever. And I was like, oh my gosh, I do that too, and I don't even realize it. And anyways, where was I going with that? But I go back to thinking, what if I'm on my deathbed? Am I going to regret just not trying and giving it my all? And I'm like, yes, I do. And that definitely gets me out of that thinking real quick and just puts me back on to like, I'm going
Yeah.
after this life full force.
You know that the number one regret of the dying,
No, what is it?
it's actually living for everybody else and not living life for yourself. That's the number one regret of the dying. I can't recall the author right now that wrote that book about the top regrets of the dying young, of the dying, but that is the number one. And I do think about that. I'm like, okay, am I living life for me
Yeah.
or for everybody else? I mean, in the grand scheme of
Yeah.
things too, it's like, why? It is kind of, I mean, I laugh at myself sometimes. I'm like, why am I
Yeah,
stressed about this? Why am I worrying about what she thinks or he's, like,
exactly.
is it really gonna matter? You know?
Yeah, exactly. At the end of the day, it doesn't. I publicly spoke at a conference last week, and naturally a little nerve-wracking. And then I was like, these people aren't even gonna remember me next week. So
Oh,
it's
yes.
like, why
I
take it so seriously?
Yeah, I call it the zoom out approach. If I think like my problems are just so big, I'm like, oh my God, this is so bad. Then I imagine like zooming out of my life, right? Like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, here I am sitting in this RV and my problems are so big. They're right in front of my face, right? And then I'm above the RV and then I'm above Malibu. And then eventually you can see, the entire United States. And then I'm a like
Little you.
little ant that thinks her problems are so big,
Oh,
and not to like discount that, of
right.
that we go through in life, but don't make a mountain out of a molehill though either, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
Yeah. We do. We have
step
to
back.
be like a floating body and looking down. And you realize that, yeah, a lot
Yeah.
of the things that we're anxious about it's like
Yeah.
really not that big of a deal, even though it is, but it isn't at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. I was just thinking, I was like, okay, someone out there might be listening, like, what does this have to do with health and being all of it,
All of
right?
it, all of it.
It
Yes,
all
I
does. Like that, it's not just one thing. It's not
totally.
how you eat. It's what you eat. Like it's everything.
Yeah.
It is down to self-worth. It is
Yeah.
about your thoughts and how you feel about yourself, how your boundaries in life, what you will allow and what you will disallow. Like all of that comes
Yeah.
down to your health.
100%. I have one patient that always comes to mind whenever I feel like, I actually no, I don't ever feel like this way because I know that everything is intertwined and matters.
Right.
But she's like eating like the perfect diet, exercising the right amount, not too much, not too little, and like not being able to lose any weight. And the moment I was just like, okay, I think we really need to work on, I know your past, I know you've had a lot of traumatic things that happened in your childhood and like never really addressed it, kind of just like kept going. And I'm like, I really think you should like spend some time working through that, honestly, like EDMR, like figuring out what works for you, but really working through that. And she didn't change anything else, movement, diet, environmental toxins, you name it, didn't change a thing. And she just started losing weight the moment that she actually started addressing
Yeah.
trauma. And for me, I'm like, I'm wondering what like physiologically is happening for that to work.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show that there's so much more to wellness than what we eat and sleep even. Like, yes, that's a really important part. All of it is,
Yeah.
but everything's so
Like I was
interconnected.
saying earlier about emotions and having those flow through you, right?
Yeah.
Not hanging on in emotions that can especially be attached to some type of
Yeah.
trauma, drama in your life, right? But a lot of times if we're holding on to these emotions, then you're holding on to extra weight,
Yeah.
extra inflammation, pain. Like there was a lot of things for me too. I had horrible, horrible inflammation, neck pain, like, and I still do occasionally, right? But I also know what to do with it when it flares up. But for me, I had to get through some of the trauma that I had in my life in order
Yeah.
to release that
Yeah.
from my body. I mean, I know you know this, right? But I mean, everything and an atom is 99.9999% energy, which leaves
Yeah.
only 0.0001% matter. And atoms are everywhere. We're all like
There's a
everywhere. No
bunch
matter
of
where you
atoms.
look right now, right? Like, yeah, you look at your hand, like your hand is 99.9999% energy, right? It's crazy. And which, like, so if you think about it, everything is energy and
Yeah.
everything is flowing and moving. And but what do we concentrate on? We're concentrating on the 0.0001% matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it matters because that's just such a tiny part of you. Like
Yeah.
if you concentrate on the energy of you, the energy of your thoughts and what you're putting out in the world, what you're sending back, what you're
Hmm.
bringing into yourself, like that's what matters. That's when like weight falls off. That's
Yeah.
when you're not as concerned about what should I eat this? Should I not eat this? Should I,
Yeah.
And like I was saying earlier, like going back to the basics, it's like exercise does not have to be complicated either.
Yeah.
To be someone that would run marathons and do crazy weight training and massive cardio. And I would almost like get so stressed. I'm like, I didn't do my workout today. I'm like, I have no self-worth, right? just move your body, right? Like
Yeah.
when you think about the, I don't know if anyone out there has seen the blue zones or heard about the blue zone,
Yep.
right? Well, one of the people, one of the things they all have in common in living to 100 is just simply moving their bodies.
Yeah.
They don't belong to a gym. Not saying you can't belong to a gym, but going back to
It's
the
just
basics,
moving.
just
Yeah.
move your body.
And I
Like,
think too, like it's going back to the working out. Like, yes, you work out 40 minutes a day, but it's like, are you
yeah,
sitting the rest of the day? And you're only moving
right,
40. Like, we're
right.
meant to just move throughout the day. And it's actually one of the main reasons I got a treadmill too. Cause I was like, I am on my computer a lot, like for work. And so I'm like, and I hate like sitting down. So I'm like, I'm getting a standing desk, a walking
Yes,
treadmill to
yes,
help just move,
yep.
even if I have to stay, even if I'm sedentary. So we have so many resources nowadays too. So there's like zero excuse
Yeah.
for,
Oh, I totally agree with you. Yes, no excuses. And you
yeah,
know what? For people wondering, like, okay, you're in an RV. I roll my mat out right here and I do yoga right here in
I
the RV.
love that.
And I love it. And that's the other thing too. Do what makes your body feel good. Don't do what your sister's doing or your friend's doing.
Yeah.
That might be great for them, but may not be good for your body. Like listen to your body, have
Yeah.
the awareness around what actually makes your body happy. For me, now it's walking, hiking, being in nature, doing
Mm.
yoga. That works for me. If I
Oh
do
yeah.
anything too extreme, forget about it. Like it's my body's like
Mm.
screaming at me. And that's the key.
Oh
Like you don't want to get to the point that your body's
yeah.
screaming at you, right? You want to actually be quiet enough to listen to the whispers of your body and go, okay, what do you need? Do you
Yeah.
need to take a nap? Cool. Okay. Like that sounds nice. But
Yeah.
whatever makes your body happy, listen to your body. Don't be listening to social media.
Oh my gosh, yes. And confused
If
even
we
more
did, it
for
would be
sure.
nuts.
For sure.
So
Well, we're wrapping up. So share with us. I know you mentioned we didn't get to the B's and C's, but that just makes everyone
we
more
kind of
likely
did.
to go get your freebie. Okay. Well, if you want to dive deeper, you can get a little freebie from Wendy. So tell us where we can find you and connect with you, all the goods.
Yes, you can find me at wendyvalentine.com. Podcast is the Midlife Makeover Show. You can listen to that, watch that wherever you listen and watch podcasts, which is kind of funny to say, but
The
yes, you can
list is long
watch on
now.
YouTube.
So
Yeah.
like YouTube,
Wendy Valentine,
Spotify.
the Midlife Makeover Show. Yeah. Instagram is my main jam, but I'm everywhere. Facebook, Pinterest, TikTok, you name it.
I hate saying Facebook now because it's like
I
I'm still on
know. Yeah.
Facebook, but I'm like, we're there.
Yes. And oh, and I did create a freebie for you guys. It's just really simple. abc.wendyvalentine.com. abc.wendyvalentine.com. And I'll give you my ABCs of staying healthy. And really quick, the C is, I would say, the most important one. It's celebrate. So it's celebrating you, celebrating your wins, and really being grateful for the woman that you are and the woman that you're becoming.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, it was great. I love this.